Hi and a warm welcome back to the garden. In this video I'm going to be showing you some of the jobs and tasks that can be carried out in the garden during the month of September. One thing you would have noticed perhaps during August going into September is that many plants that you do have will start to self-sow without any intervention from us whatsoever. And these kind of plants include for us the foxgloves. Although we don't have actually any foxgloves in this border, we do find we have a lot of seedlings popping up here and there, and that's probably because the seeds have been blown on the wind and taking it far and wide. So in this border we have a number of plants that we don't want in this particular space. So it's just a case of digging them up and moving them on. So this is just a foxglove, and you just want to be digging it out with as much root as possible. And I'm going to be placing this in the other side of the garden where it can happily grow with the other foxgloves that are already growing in that area. And also within this same border we have a lot of self-sown seedlings from this beautiful steeper tenuissima grass. So these are all popping up all the way along this border. So it's going to be way too many plants for this very small space. So what I'm going to do with these is I'm just digging some of them out, and I'm going to be potting these up just into some containers so that they can then be planted somewhere else in the garden or passed on to family and friends. September is probably the last month you have at taking cuttings of your tender plants. So things like your pelargonians, things like this beautiful agastache that's at the back, and also things like your tender salvias. So we took some cuttings not so long ago of one of our tender salvias, and we have now two lovely plants that we can overwinter really easier than what we can do with the bigger, larger plant. And with regards to the agastache, the beautiful agastache behind me, these are cuttings again taken earlier in the year, and these are actually trying to flower as well, so that's brilliant. Overwintering these plants is so much easier than trying to take the whole plant inside somewhere to give protection. So these type of perennials are on the tender side, and if we don't provide protection over winter, or we get a particularly cold winter, we do have the danger of losing them. So things like the penstenum that I've got just behind me, we do have a lot of cuttings of these already, so we're in no danger of losing these. We can overwinter them quite easily. And particularly with the agastache, that came through the winter last year, surprisingly to me. So whether it's because it's in a little bit of a protected position, but also because we didn't have such a cold winter last year, whereas the winter of 2022 was particularly cold, and had we have had that plant in the garden then, we would have probably lost it, because the temperatures did go down to minus, I think, 13 or something like that. This is a really good way of making sure we have plants for next year should the worst happen over the winter. Throughout the month of September, you'll also find that a lot of your flowering perennials are starting to set seed. So it's a good idea to do this on a dry day, so don't be attempting to do it like today. I'm out here filming and it's raining. Don't collect seed on a rainy day. Always make sure it's dry when you're collecting seed, because you do have the potential of the seed rotting if you don't have dry seed to begin with. So I'm going to be collecting some seed from our Lichness Chalcedonica plant, which is already shedding lots and lots of seeds already, but I'm going to wait for a drier day to get these seeds packaged in an envelope, and they can be then sown at a later point in time. There is a video which was recorded around this time last year, and it shows a number of different seeds that you can collect in early autumn. So I'll put a link to that just in the top corner there, and you can take a look at that video. September is also a really good month for planting and also dividing perennials. So if you've got an area of ground which you need to put new plants in, the soil is still very warm from the summer, and we do have a good chance of getting those new perennials in and getting them established well before the winter. So September's a really good time for that. And also for established perennials, it's also a good time to be dividing those perennials. And with most perennials, we suggest that they get divided within around maybe 3 to 5 years. So if you're looking at our crocosmia behind me, that's been in now for probably 2 years. It doesn't actually need dividing. So this will be coming to an end during this month of the flowering period. And if you do have clumps that have been congested and need to be revitalised, please take a look at our other video on how to divide and split crocosmia. So I'm just going to put a link to the video up there. So that's one of the plants you could be dividing. So we're looking at perennials that have finished flowering and that are in need of division. So a lot of these plants that you see in the garden at the moment, they're still in flower, so I won't be doing that at the moment. But as we approach into mid and late September, there may be some plants which are finished, and it's a good month to be lifting those up, making new plants for free and filling out more space in our borders. Now is a really good time to be thinking about spring. So as gardeners, we're always planning for the seasons ahead, and as we approach autumn, we're thinking about the spring bulbs and the brilliant display of colour we can have during those first early months of the year. So we'll be looking at different types of bulbs to get. So usually we grow a mixture of daffodils, crocus and tulips. So you can get those from a number of sources, garden centres, nurseries and also online. So now is a good time to sit down, have a discussion, have a think and decide on what plants you want to grow next year. Many of these bulbs can be planted throughout September all the way up until as late as December and even January. But I do advise you save your tulips until around November, December time, because these do have a tendency, if you plant them too early, to suffer with viruses. So in order to try and minimise that risk, we advise that you plant your tulips in perhaps November, December time. As we're approaching the end of September, consider leaving some of the blooms to set seed on your annuals. So things like calendula and sweet peas, they can actually be saved and sown straight away to get earlier flowers next year. Whereas plants like cosmos, because these are half hardy annuals, these will need to be saved over winter and then planted out next year. With the tomatoes now beginning to ripen, what we need to be doing is removing the top growth of these plants. They are still trying to set more tomatoes, but now we're getting into September, it's unlikely that these are going to come of anything. So what we can do is just snip them off just above where there's a leaf, and also remember to take out the side shoots that are still trying to form. Now with regards to the tomatoes themselves, obviously keep picking them, keep enjoying them, and also if you've never tried saving the seeds from the tomatoes that you're growing, we do have a video which I'll just point into the corner of the screen, which is about how to save the seeds of these tomatoes. Now these particular tomatoes that we've grown this year, quite expensive, so when you start to add up different varieties that you sow each year, it does become quite costly. So by saving your own seeds, you're saving yourself a heap of money, and it is really easy to do. So just have a look at that video, and I do recommend you try it. The weather when I first started this video didn't look like it was going to be this bad with regards to the rain, so I've taken cover inside, and I'm just going to close the video now by saying thank you so much for watching. Give me a like, please subscribe, and if you do have any comments, please drop them in the comments box below the video as always. And there are lots and lots of jobs to do, as I've just shown you, in the month of September, and I'm sure there's many more that a lot of you will be doing. And if you'd like to drop in the comments things that you'll be doing during this month, it'd be great to share with us and also the rest of our subscribers. So we'll see you very soon on the next one. hopefully on a bit of a drier day. And in the meantime, please do take care and happy gardening.